Hello everyone, this is Umbromancer, and today I'm going to be playing Darkstar. Darkstar is a science fiction tactical wargame depicting starship combat between interstellar navies of the far future. This game was designed by James Johnson, who goes by the handle of Oriskany at the Beast of War forums. This game is available for free, and I will provide links to where you can download it in the description below. Also, please be sure to visit the project page at the Beasts of War website. Now, this game can be played as a miniatures wargame on a tabletop or on a digital platform, as I will attempt to demonstrate soon enough. I will be playing this game for the second time, although I've seen it played a couple of times before. I strongly recommend that you visit the Beasts of War page, as it has links to a gameplay video where Oriskany explains the rules much better than I can. Now, at some later date, I may do a full game review or tutorials as time permits. I originally wanted to record these videos, but I had some issues with corrupted audio, so I decided to stream parts of the games as time permits. I will stop and, save at whatever point we get to, and at some later date I will do part 2 with the next turn of the game. I will be playing solo, but I hope to someday host at least 2-player games at some later date. Now, as I am a RPG player, primarily I have some context for my games, so here we go. The year is 2513. During the early stages of the Andromeda Arc War, American forces have obtained intelligence from their British allies regarding an ore refinery near Delta Trianguli, deep within territory controlled by the Japanese. British intelligence suggests that Kagawa Station is only lightly guarded by a small picket. Acting swiftly based on these reports, the U.S. Navy has dispatched a small strike force designated Battle Group Able under the command of Mark Santos to seize the station and the nearby moon. The battle group consists of the Valcour-class frigate USS Ticonderoga, the Shepherd-class destroyers USS Gus Grissom and the USS Buzz Aldrin. Now, Battle Group Able has been ordered to neutralize the station's defense picket in advance of a strike force coming to secure the planet. There is a Saipan-class planetary assault ship, the USS Guadalcanal, waiting out in the system's Oort cloud, ready to jump in and land a battalion of U.S. Marines to seize the station and the contested moon. Unfortunately for Battle Group Able, British intelligence was mistaken about the size and composition of Kagawa Station's defense picket. A battle group of 4 Akashi-class strike frigates is currently in orbit around the moon, led by Commander Koji Moritsugo, aboard the UN Arashio. Her sister ships, the Yamagumo, Asagumo, and Natsugumo, are slightly older models than the American frigates, but they packed advanced Class 5 torpedoes. The Akashi's weak spot, however, is their lack of weaponry in their stern arcs. However, given their high maneuverability, crossing the T will be very, very hard for the Americans. Alright, so let's zoom out to a more comfortable tactical picture of the entire battlefield. Let me straighten that up. Here we go. This setup is the recommended starting assault type scenario included in the game, but I am also incorporating the campaign rules, which are included in the available version of the game. It's important to mention that all the graphics that you are seeing here, all the maps, all the images, everything that I've just shown was kindly provided to me by Oriskany. So if you like anything of what you see in this video, it's all thanks to James. I'm just playing the game with the resources he gave me. So, if we look at the quick sheets that the game provides, there is a Darkstar turn sequence and a Darkstar quick reference sheet, both of which allow you to play most of the game without having to even reference the book. The book contains all the detailed rules. The procedure is very clear. If you stick to the procedure, you should be able to get a good handle on the game. So, reading from the turn sequence, the first thing we have to do is roll initiative. The first phase of the game is the initiative phase. Now, the way it works, all players roll a d6 and add the ship's thrust. And then you register the scores for the current round. So, let's get some dice. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do to roll initiative slightly faster is I am going to assign dice. You can see I have the ships right here, Ticonderoga, Grissom, and Aldrin. I'm going to roll in that order, and it's going to be red, white, and blue. And that's a quick way to get some initiative results real fast. So let's proceed and do that. All right, so let's see. You have a 2, a 3, and a 2. And we are starting with the Ticonderoga, having a thrust of 6. Plus 2, that's going to be an initiative score of 8. The Grissom has a thrust of 7. Plus 3 is an initiative score of 10. And finally, the Aldrin has an initiative score of 7 plus 2 on the die is going to be 9. All right, so that's initiative for the American side. Let's proceed now with the Japanese side, and we're going to do the same and just add a black die at the end, again in the interest of making this faster. So here we go. That's red, white, blue, and black. There we go. That's easier to read. All right, so we start with the flagship, the Arashio. They're all Akashi-class strike frigates. These are fast ships. They are deadly at close quarters and also have some nice torpedo tubes, so they can hold their own at long range as well. All right, so the Arashio has an initiative score of 8. Asegumo has a total of 13. Yamagumo has a score of 11, and Natsugumo has a score of 11. All right, that gives us our starting initiative, and I should get these values on a piece of paper just to keep them straight. Asegumo 13, Yamagumo, and Natsugumo at 11, and Ticonderoga at 8, Grissom at 10, and the Aldrin at 9. All right, so we basically have a tie between the Arashio and the Ticonderoga for the lowest initiative score. So what we're going to do is we're going to dice off and just roll straight d6s, and whoever wins that wins the initiative between those two. Right, this is a tiebreaker. So red is going to be Japanese, blue is going to be American, and red wins the initiative. So it's going to be Ticonderoga, Arashio, Aldrin, Grissom, Yamagumo and Natsugumo, and finally Asegumo. So the way it works, the lowest initiative score has to move first. This gives the advantage to whoever won the roll, has more knowledge of the position of the enemy ships, and can adjust their course accordingly. So let's go back to our tactical display. And proceed with the next step, which is the movement phase. Now, we also need to start to note starting velocities. The ease of turning depends on the velocity of the ship. The faster it's moving, the harder it is to turn. The more thrust a ship has, it's the amount of points that you need to pay to make the turn. So the faster the ship, or not the faster the ship, the more thrust a ship has, the more maneuverable it is, the easier it is to make turns. So for sake of this starting game, this initial game, let's just give a starting velocity of 4 to all of our ships. Let's do this real quick. And these character sheets are fantastic. They're in Excel for online play, but you can print them out from the PDF and just cover them with some plastic sheet protectors and write on them with erasable markers, so it works perfectly for tabletop too. Alright, so everybody's moving at a velocity of 4. Let's go back to our tactical display, and now that we have some starting velocities, we need to apply thrust if we wish to accelerate or decelerate. Now, as I said, it's in the Japanese best interest to close the range. The Americans are probably better off keeping their distance and trying to soften them up with their particle guns and rail guns, and those are effective really at mid-range. They do have some torpedo launchers, which should also be very useful. So, looking at our initiative, we start moving the Ticonderoga. Now, Tyke is moving at 4. At a velocity of 4, turns cost 1 thrust. So, this is pseudo-Newtonian movement, right? So the ship has to keep moving at the last recorded velocity and direction, right? So let's magnify this a little bit. No, this is not good. They're still too far away, and I need to see where they are so I can point my guns at them, basically. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then make a turn, I think, is the best option for the Ticonderoga right now. So it's already moving at a velocity of 4, so I don't need to spend any thrust on this. This is what the ship will automatically move. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I will use 1 point of thrust to execute a turn. Now, you can accelerate or decelerate either at the beginning of the round or at the end of the round. You cannot do so mid-movement. You can change course mid-movement, but not accelerate or decelerate. So we still have 5 thrust left. I don't think I want to change the thrust. I think... wait, let me verify. Yeah, it's a good place, I think. Because we don't want to close too fast on these guys, I think. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave them there, positioned. The range is still considerable, but those frigates will be moving. So Ticonderoga is going to count on the fact that maybe they won't get too close. So that's movement for the Ticonderoga. Now at the end of movement, it's important that we record the end velocity, because that's going to be the starting velocity for our next turn. Had we accelerated, we would have started then with a higher velocity for the next turn. So we'd note it and move on to the next ship on the queue, which in this case is the Arashio. Now the Arashio is down here. Which one is it? Let me magnify because I can't barely see them. Ah, there we go. So Arashio is back here. Zoom out to tactical again so we can get a feel for the range. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Approximately 27. So that's real far away. So I think the Arashio wants to do 2 turns. So maybe No, she doesn't. She just needs to do 1 turn is what she needs to do. So let's look at the Arashio. Her starting velocity is 4. She has a thrust of 7. But I want to make sure that I can make 1 turn. So if I accelerate... If I accelerate 6 points and I go to a speed of 10, I would need 3 more points to turn, and I can't do that. Still, it should probably still be within the forward firing arc, which is the important things. We'll talk about the firing arcs a little bit later, but right now I'm going to say that she's going to let's accelerate to a speed of 10. Let's go for broke here. See what happens. Maybe I'll regret this next round, but so we're gonna need to break the round after that. So let's accelerate only to 8. That will consume 4 points of thrust, and that would leave me with 3 points of thrust. So that means that I can still make a facing change if I need to. So let's go with a velocity of 8. Oops. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let's do a little quick range check here. Now, unfortunately, the way I've set up the Roll20, I can't use the native count hex feature of Roll20 because this game allows multiple ships to occupy a single hex, and the native hex feature of Roll20 does not allow me to do that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's still pretty far away. Maybe I should have gone for broke. But what's done is done. So maybe when I move the other ships, I'll move a little bit farther. So we move the nameplate just to keep it neat. And we did note our end-turn velocity for the Arashio. So we go to the next one in initiative, which is the Aldrin. Let's go to the Aldrin. Now the Aldrin also has a thrust of 7. So let's see what the Aldrin can do. The Aldrin wants to keep close to the leader, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a turn is certainly within the starting velocity. And the ship is still within the squadron, right? So no big deal. Now, do I want to accelerate for the next turn? I'm going to say no and leave it like that. Let's keep the American squadron together, Now after the Aldrin moves, then it's onto the Grissom. Now the Grissom can go 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to say, let's see, if I move 5, then I could move 6. So I would need to accelerate to a speed of 6. That would take 2 points of thrust and 2 more to turn. So that's perfectly within our capabilities here. So I'm going to accelerate to 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, then turn, and 1 more is 6. Now note that I'm doing my accelerations and I'm having leftover thrust points. I could very well just use them and increase the speed for the next round, whatever's left, right? I used 2 points of thrust to accelerate and 2 points of thrust to turn, so I still theoretically have 3 thrust points left over. I could then accelerate to a speed of 9, but that speed of 9 would not come into effect until next round. That would be the starting velocity for next round. Actually, the other ships have slowed down, so I'm going to use those of the 3 points that I have left in thrust. I'm gonna use 2 of those points to get the velocity back to 4. And so whatever happens in the next turn, the whole squadron is going to be moving, as a unit. All right, so back to the Japanese side, and now it's Yamagumo and Natsugumo. And let's see, it doesn't really matter what order I move them in, because by now it's just the Japanese left, right? So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. I would accelerate 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to accelerate to a speed of 8. It's still a long range. This is a Natsugumo. It's still going to be a long range. I don't think the plasmas can reach, but the lasers can. So yeah, let's take it easy. And what speed did the Arashio end at? It ended at 8. Yeah, so I like the idea. So let's accelerate to a speed of 8. That takes 4 thrust points. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And yeah, just going to leave it at that. Now Yamagumo and Asagumo, we're just going to do the same thing, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You know what I could do? I'm just going to do this. Oops, I need to not select this. Let's move these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. They're also maintaining formation. The station is mostly just window dressing. It looks nice. The rules indicate that on a future supplement, they will include rules for boarding stations and attacking stations and stuff like that. But for the present, are just basically part of the scenery. So let's note the new velocities for the next round. Japanese battle group is all moving at 8. The Americans are taking it slow. Alright, so this concludes the movement phase. Then we go to aerospace movement. So we are supposed to roll, again, initiative for deployment of the aerospace craft and for later on for aerospace craft combat. So let's do the same roll-off we did before, only we use D10s now for the aerospace craft. And so the Japanese have 9 and the American side has 10. So again, we proceed with the lowest initiative scores first. So let's do the Japanese side. Now, since all the Japanese ships are the same, we can see right here that they only have one scout each. Now, the way you're supposed to deploy this is you put the launched aircraft in the hex adjacent to the hangar. Now, the hangar is noted as a forward hangar, so the scout ships would all move to the forward hex. So I'm just gonna simplify this in order not to need to get a bunch of tokens out for these fighters. I'm going to consolidate these fighters into larger groups, again for the sake of just moving faster. That's the marker for the Japanese Air and Space Forces, and I'm going to leave the American marker out here as well. Okay, so let us resize this marker a little bit, and it's just give it a name, show nameplate, and these are scout ships. So let's just put scout, 4. Let's consolidate all of these right here. So those are 4 scout ships, and let's leave them around here someplace. Again, technically, remember it should have been 1 here, 1 here, and 1 on top of each of these. But I'm just going to consolidate because the next phase is aerospace movement, in which that's the first thing your ships would do, just combine into an attack wing. Let's do the same thing with the American side. Let's verify how many scouts the Americans have. Now, the Grissom and the Aldrin have 1 scout each, launched through the aft hangar, but the Ticonderoga has 2 scouts to port and starboard. So again, for the sake of expediency, I'm just going to do scout. Now, these warships that we're using in this scenario, they don't really have a large aerospace complement, so we're not going to showcase the aerospace rules to its full degree, but it's still fun to have those. So I'm going to say they're going to stay right here. They should be in a hex, so let's leave them with the Ticonderoga. Alright, so let's close this here. And we go to our view here. Alright, so that's the second step of the aerospace movement. Now would come the movement of all the aerospace elements, which include things like torpedoes. So the way this moves is first you would move the warship torpedoes, and whoever lost the initiative always moves first. Then you would move assault boats for landing parties. Again, the rules for that are not included in the basic game, but they should be out sometime. Then you move bombers, then fighters, then scouts. It's pretty easy because first is the torpedoes, and then after that it just goes alphabetically: assault boat, bomber, fighter, scout. So since we only have scouts, I'm just going to move them, and I am just going to leave them guarding the respective ships. You know what? I changed my mind. I am going to split the American scouts into 2. And then I'm just going to copy and paste that here. Oh, this is getting slow. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to put a scout to cover the Buzz Aldrin and another scout to cover the Gus Grissom. You know, acting on the principle that maybe they can block some torpedoes, and we don't have any torpedoes yet, but we will see in the next phase how the torpedoes work. So that concludes aerospace movement, and then we move on to the combat phase proper. Now, the combat phase begins with aerospace combat. Now, if any of the aerospace elements wanted to fight, I could have used those. If you look at the quick reference sheet included with the game, you can see that the speed for the scouts and the assault boats and stuff like that is really fast. So, and they don't obey the pseudo-Newtonian movement of the larger warships. So, you know, if they have a movement of 15 hexes, for example, which is the movement of the scout, they can just move in any direction, and it doesn't get any more detailed than that. So they could theoretically move and dogfight like in the middle of this thing, but I'm going to use the aerospace craft for additional torpedo defense, for additional point defense. All right, so we go through the aerospace movement phases. There really aren't any elements out yet, so we will just skip directly to warship combat. Now, again, the way this works, combat in this game is simultaneous, so it doesn't really matter who shoots first, because you will do each ship's attacks and resolve those and mark the damage, but the damage doesn't come into effect until the end phase or the resolution phase of this turn. So all ships in this round will attack, in this turn will attack at full capacity. So, you know, for ease of things, let's just start with the Arashio and see what attack she has. So she has plasma weapons. Let's get a range on that. Let's say they're going to attack. Let's say the Arashio wants to attack one of the frigates, which are the American frigates, which are closest. So let's take a look again how many hexes that is. I think this is the closest to the Arashio. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 hexes to the closest ship, which is the Gus Grissom. So 19 hexes. If you look at the top area of the, let's see if I can select that. Oh, there we go. At the top area of the sheet for the Arashio, this is also reproduced in the quick sheet, in the quick reference sheet. You can see the ranges. So 16 to 20 hexes would be range bracket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be the 6th range bracket. Now, if you look at the weapon descriptions per se, you can see that the Japanese strike frigates are armed with 30, I don't know what the unit is here, plasma cannons, and 6 megakelvin lasers. Now, you can determine the damage here is spelled out by range bracket. So this is the first bracket, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So you can see that the plasma does not reach the 6th bracket, so it's going to be ineffective. However, the laser cannon does 1 hit of damage if it hits, and the Arashio has 2 cannons. Now, to verify our to-hit numbers, we just look at the to-hit number here. For the range bracket, we can see that it is a 6, and that's a 6 or less on the D10. Now, however, it is attacking the Gus Grissom, and it's if we look at the range here, from the center of the hex to the center of this hex, you can see that it's entering through the forward phasing of the ship. Now, that is the bow portion of the Grissom. So we look at the Grissom and we check the shields. The shield number represents electronic countermeasures and also electronic warfare for the targeting and gravitic shielding. So you just subtract the attack number from the bow shielding of the Grissom, which in this case is 4. So it's 6 minus 4 would be 2. So you're looking for 2 or less on the rolls. However, the Arashio CIC Combat Information Center is advanced, so it gives you a +1 to hit. So that modified number just becomes a 3 or less on the die to hit. So let's resolve that attack real quick. And we just roll 2 dice looking for 3s or less. And they both miss. It's a 5 and an 8. So the Arashio does not hit. Now let's go with, who's next in the Asagumo? Now Asagumo, it's probably the same range. Let's just check it, because here we are. From center of hex to center of hex. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So, you know, it's close enough. But again, the bracket is made in such a way that, you know, +1 hex is not going to make much of a difference. So it's about the same number. So Asagumo is firing its bow lasers also at the Grissom. So again, it's looking for 3s or less, and it's 2 laser cannons. So we roll 1d10 for each cannon that's firing, but that's a 5 and a 6. So again, it misses. Let's go Yamagumo. Same deal. Yamagumo is firing at the same guides. Again, it's 17, and the range for this one would be 18. So everybody's looking for the same number. So let's do Yamagumo. And Yamagumo gets 2 5s, so no luck. And then finally Natsugumo. And no hits. So the range is still good. It's an advantage for the Americans, at least this far. Let's look now at the American side. Let's start with the Grissom, because they're getting fired upon. So now the Grissom is equipped with 9 teravolt particle cannons. It's in the same bracket because it's the same thing for it's the same distance. It's always the same to hit table, if you will. It's going to hit the bow of whatever ship it's going to attack. So again, the shielding is 6. So we're looking for 2s to hit. But it's modified again by the CIC, and you can see it spelled out next to the cannon itself, right? So again, we're looking for 3s or less. Now note the cannon positions. We got 2 in the bow, so those can shoot, but the stern weapons are not positioned optimally to shoot. So that means that we're only doing 2 shots. But before we do that, let's even verify if it's doing any damage at this range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we find out that actually at this range, the EPC does not pack enough power to actually do any damage. So I'm going to forego rolling for the Grissom and the Aldrin. Let's look at Ticonderoga and see if she fares any better. Now it's the same ranges. So again, the railguns, 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't have anything for the 6th bracket. But let's check the lasers. It has 1 bow laser. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it does hit. It can generate damage. So let's start. It's only 1 laser attack, and we're going to hit, I don't know, Asagumo seems to be directly in front. So 1 die looking for 3 or less, and nothing. Okay, so regular energy weapons are still out of range. So in this case, there's no damage, there's no actual hits. So now we go to the launching torpedoes phase. We'll go with the Japanese side and look at their torpedo bays. Now, again, all the Japanese ships are the same. So they got 2 Class 5 torpedo launchers on the port bow and 2 at the starboard bow. So you have to consider if they are within the firing arc. Those are again spelled out in the official rules, but just looking at it real quick, yes, all of the torpedoes launchers are in good firing position. You need to have a target, but you don't need to declare it. So it's going to be 4 torpedo launched by each Japanese ship. So 4x4 is 16 torpedoes. So let's look for some torpedo markers. I'm going to use the color red for the Japanese torpedoes, and they're using the class 5s, which are the advanced torpedoes, or the Mark 5s. So I'm getting some slow connection here. Okay. So again, we will mark the torpedoes. It's 16 torpedoes. And they're supposed to be deployed on the actual ship hex. Again, to expedite things, I'm just going to say that all the torpedoes are right here. Let's make it smaller. It's too big. These torpedoes have a lot of movement, and it's probably best to fire them in a single volley and take out one ship at long range, but we'll see how that goes. Let's look now at the American side. Now, each of the frigates can fire 2 torpedoes from the bow launchers, port and starboard bows, and they launch 2 each. So that's 4 per ship. So that's 2 ships. So that's 8 class 4 torpedoes. And the Ticonderoga actually produces 6. So it's 8 and 6. So it's 14 torpedoes. So yeah. The Japanese actually managed to launch more because there's more ships. But 14 is decent. Only these torpedoes are class 4, and I'm going to use the orange marker to make sure I remember that these are the American torpedoes. Let's mark 14 torpedoes here and take it down a little bit, and we'll put them here with the Ticonderoga. So that completes the launching phase. Now we go to the resolution phase. And the resolution phase, there's no damage that took place in this round, so there's really nothing to resolve. So that means we go back to the top of the round, and we start over with a new initiative phase. All right, so let's get rid of this. Let's get a good tactical picture here. Can I magnify this a little bit more? No, we'll magnify next round after movement. Okay, so we go back to our initiative. Let's roll red, white, and blue for our American ships. So it's 6, 2, and 3, which is pretty good because that's a nice initiative score for Ticonderoga. Now has an initiative score of 12. Grissom has an initiative score of 9. I should put these down on paper as well. So now the Tyke has 12. Grissom has 9, and Aldrin has 10. All right, so let's look at the Japanese side of the equation, and let's roll again using our red, white, and blue technique with a black die as well. Red, white, blue, and black. So our ratio Arashio has 4 and 7 is 11. Asagumo has 10. Yamagumo has 9. And Natsugumo has 12. Interesting rolls. Wait, how much did Yamagumo have? 9. Huh. So we got Aldring tied with Asagumo and Grissom tied with Yamagumo. Okay. So let's do a quick dice off here between Japanese and Americans. Alright, so the Japanese win the toss-up between Grissom and Yamagumo. So it goes alright, and now let's toss up between Alduin and Asagumo. Let's roll off, and now Aldrin wins that. So let's put this in order real quick. So we have the Grissom moving first, then the Yamagumo, then the Asagumo, then the Aldrin, the Arashio, the Natsugumo, and finally, oops, no, wait, we got a roll between Natsugumo and Ticonderoga. Huh, tied again. Let's roll again. All right, so now Ticonderoga finally wins the toss-off here. So Ticonderoga actually has the highest initiative score, so Ticonderoga will be moving last. That is surprising, I should think. So now, if I remember correctly, let's make sure what the velocities are. They are all listed in the sheet from last round. So all the Japanese are moving at a velocity of 8. All the Americans are moving at a velocity of 4. Oops, I didn't note the initiative for Aldrin. Let's call it 10.5 because he did win the tiebreaker. So we begin movement with Grissom. So Grissom is moving at a speed of 4. Now the problem is we have no idea where the Japanese are going to be at. If they're going to accelerate, decelerate. This is the problem when you lose the initiative. So Grissom's best bet is probably not to move too far, and keep its nose pointed at the enemy, and hope that it doesn't get outmaneuvered. Oh wait. Let's verify this here. Yeah, we move the warships first, just making sure. So I'm not going to use any thrust to accelerate. Let's verify the weapon complement of the Grissom, because we saw that they do have bow and stern weapons. Now, the way these weapons are mounted, there is these weapons, they say they're mounted forward and backward, but these are actually turrets, so they have an arc of fire, so you can move them somewhat. They're not fixed weaponry. Now, this is designed so that there is a narrow firing arc where you can actually produce a broadside. And the broadside is, there's a certain arc of fire where you can overlap your bow and your stern weaponry and attack with both in the same round. So Let's see. So we were at about 18 hexes away, if I recall correctly. So assuming we move forward 4, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 would be around 12 or 13. And let's say that they move about 4 more. Probably bring it down to a range of 8. So we're looking at the 4th bracket, which is not bad. 4th bracket is not bad. So Grissom is going to risk it. And she's just going to move. Should I move 5? I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Let's move. Let's move 4 and see. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to use some of that thrust to execute a turn. Now these ships are most vulnerable to the stern portion, so I'm going to leave this here. And that's the Grissom's movement, and I'm going to record her final velocity still at 4. That'll probably change the next movement if they survive this turn. So now we go on to Yamagumo. Now Yamagumo's moving at speed of 8. Where is Yamagumo? Right here. Let's double check that speed. Yamagumo is at 8. At a velocity of 8, it takes 2 points to turn. So let's see how far Yamagumo can get on 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would leave the ship within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 hexes of distance, which would be the 4th bracket. And at the 4th bracket, its plasma weapon comes in, but it's not super effective. So they just need to make 1 turn, and we're moving at a velocity of 8. So, oops, lost count of my hexes. Sorry for that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it would be 6 hexes to there. So I want to close that range from 6 hexes, 7 hexes. Let's close that range by, say, maybe 2. So I would accelerate to a velocity of 10. That would cost me 2 thrust. Then I would use 3 to turn, it would be 5, and then I would use 2 to decelerate back to 8. That sounds like a plan. So let's accelerate to 10. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the Japanese weapons are all optimized for attacking in the forward arc. So this is not too bad. I mean, I could still hit it from here. However, if I turn, I think I can still hit it. You know what? I'm not going to turn because the Americans might be tempted to try to get behind Yamagumo for a shot. And it is, 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes away, which is the 3rd range bracket. And that's not bad for the Japanese plasma. If I'm not going to turn, I think I'm going to get within knife fighting range, and I'm going to move up to here, and that way I believe it's still in the forward arc. Let me take a look at the arcs. Let's see if we can bring up the official document here and look for the firing arcs just to make sure that it's there we go. Oh, so the bow has a huge firing arc. There's no problem whatsoever. It can fire comfortably from there, and it's 1, 2, It's basically 3 hexes away, so this is knife fighting range. At the second bracket, the plasma is going to hit at full strength. So this is exactly where Yamagumo wants to be. Now it moved 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares. So that means that I accelerated from, I used 3 thrusts to accelerate to bring it to 11. And I think I'm going to kill that velocity and bring it down to a 7 by burning my final 4 points of thrust and bringing my velocity back down to a 7, because next round we're going to be, we don't want to move too far away next round. So that was Yamagumo. Now we have Asagumo, and Asagumo kind of likes what Yamagumo did. So so she's going to accelerate to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Accelerate to 10. Or move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Accelerate to 10, but make 2 turns. Can I do that? That would take an acceleration of 2. Plus 6 points to turn. No, I can't do that. So, you know what? I'll just move 10. And put it in the same... Oops, moved the wrong thing. I'll just accelerate to 10. Let's get these out of the way for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then just leave them at the same hex. And just leave the same end velocity, right? So accelerate at 2. And then decelerate back to... Wait, she was going at 10 and she's matching Yamagumo. Geez, maybe these names should have been different. So, accelerate to 10 is plus 2, then decelerate to 7 is minus 3. Yeah, that's within the range of the... Oops, this is not the right ship. It's the Asagumo and Yamagumo. There we go. Okay, now we're just missing Arashio and Natsugumo. But before those go, Aldrin moves. So what is Aldrin going to do? Aldrin is moving at a velocity of 4 and has 7 thrust, so that's not bad. At a velocity of 4, it only costs 1 point to turn. Which way does it want to go? 1, 2, 3, 4. Or maybe just move 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I have him with a broadside at 1, 2, 3, 4. At a range of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's a damage of 2, so it's not super close. If I could get it within 3 hexes, I could do some good damage, but they're dangerous at 3 hexes with those plasma projectors. So I think... One, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 for range. But are they still within broadside? Would be the question. 1, 2, 3, 4. At 4, they would definitely be within broadside arc of fire. And that would still keep us relatively close to the rest of the squadron. So here we go. Just going to move 4 forward. And this has them within the broadside's fire arc. So that's pretty good. Alright, so that's Aldrin. Let's record final velocity. And I think Aldrin wants to stay at a final velocity of 4. And now we move Horatio at a velocity of 8. So what is the plan now? They will want to bring their guns to bear right here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would keep them away. Would have to be 9, 10, and then maybe a turn, or 11 and then a turn. That looks pretty good. I think an 11 presents the forward, the bow to the enemy. So Horatio is going to accelerate to a speed of 11, and that's going to consume 3 points. And at a speed of 11, it's going to take them 3 points to turn. It's just going to leave 1 point, and I'll probably decelerate to a speed of 10. So the end velocity is going to be 10 for Horatio. But it's going to move 11 hexes and do 1 turn. So here we go. Oops. Actually, let's move them together. Why not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The banners are gorgeous. Original design by Oriskany, and I figured out how to edit the text and make my own flags. So, you know, it's not too hard. Alright, so Horatio has moved, and then finally Natsugumo. And what is the best plan of action for Natsugumo? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and turn. Yep, and 11 and turn will just leave the same end velocity as Horatio. And again, this is Natsugumo. So we'll do the same trick. And then we'll just go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And turn. All right, that's pretty good. So now finally it's Ticonderoga's turn. Now the Ticonderoga is moving at a speed of 4, and it has a thrust of 6. So now we need to think here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 leaves everybody within a broadside, which is excellent. And it is probably the smartest choice, because then it keeps the rest of the squadron, you know, uptight for mutual defense. So that's my move. I'm going to accelerate to a speed of 5 using 1 thrust point. And I think I'm going to leave it at a speed of 5 and not decelerate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. And the flag here. Alright, so this concludes the warship movement phase. Now we go to aerospace movement. So each side rolls for initiative. Oops, no, it's using D10s. Hang on a second. Alright, so the Americans win the initiative. So it's the Japanese moving first. So first they move the torpedoes. Now let's verify the movement for the Class 5 torpedoes, which is in the quick sheet. Let me show the quick sheet. Let's see if we can show the quick sheet right here. There we go. Okay, so we can see that the Class 5 Japanese torpedoes move at a speed of 20 right there. Okay, so now the important thing with the torpedoes is that it matters from which hex they're entering the enemy ship. So the first thing we should figure out is which ship do we want to hit. Now, I think the best bet for the Japanese is to go directly for the Ticonderoga. So let's see if we can reach the Tyke in one movement phase. Here we go. So it would be, this is the starting hex. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then we are approaching from the rear, firing the stern angle of the Ticonderoga, so we are supposed to mark it here. So it's clear that the torpedoes are attacking from the stern, so they're going to face the stern shields. But we don't resolve that combat yet. We do it in the combat phase proper, and we're still in movement. So it's torpedoes first. Now the American torpedoes get to move. The American torpedoes are Class 4. And so we can see that movement for Class 4 torpedoes is 18, which is not bad. It's pretty good. Now an 18 movement, oops, oh, you can't see him. Sorry, I'm blocking with a dice. There we go. It's an 18 with a Class 4. So they also reach all the ships. Now I want to hit the ship farthest away from us. And we are going to say that the Americans have been monitoring the enemy communications, and they have figured out that the Arashio is the command ship for the Japanese battle group. So they will move their torpedoes to attack Arashio. So again, it's 18, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So again, we're going to be attacking and entering through the stern hex. So we'll take care of that. Now, after torpedoes, we go to aerospace craft launches. We're out of ships to launch. I'm sorry, that would have been before movement of torpedoes, but we have no ships to launch. All the aerospace craft are in space right now, so what follows is movement of the aerospace elements. Again, we go in alphabetical order. After torpedoes, it's assault boats, bombers, fighters, scouts. We only have scouts on the table, so the scouts are going to move, and the scouts, according to our quick sheet, move, let's see, speed is 15 hexes, so it's not bad at all. So the Japanese move first, and yeah, they're just going to protect Arashio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There we go. So they're protecting Arashio. And the American scouts are just going to protect. I divided these, and that was not a bad idea, thinking that the Japanese were going to consolidate, maybe split their fire between some different targets, but they went for broke for the big one because they had it in good range. So, I'm going to consolidate all 4 of my fighters again, and then just move them over to cover the Ticonderoga. Oops. Let's resize this a bit. Now, the good news is that since all the ships are in knife fighting range, we should be fine doing this and doing this, and now we get a nice view of all the markers and stuff. Let's see. Let's leave them outside the dice cam so they're easy to look at. Okay, so that concludes the torpedo movement phase and the entire aerospace movement with the scouts. And now we go to the combat phase proper. Now, we start with aerospace combat. We skipped this phase the last turn because there were no airspace ships in range, right? So, the first thing we resolve is the anti-aerospace mass driver fire. Now, this means that if any of the Japanese ships want to attack my scouts, they probably can. And the thing that they have to decide is, are they going to use their mass drivers to shoot down the scout ships, or are they going to save their fire for purposes of defending the Japanese ships against the torpedoes? Now, the thing is that you can do only one of those. You either strike the enemy ships or defend against the torpedoes. So let's think about this. They got 14 torpedoes, which is, they can do some serious damage. But I'm going to say that Asagumo, who is the closest, I think is going to shoot at those aerospace craft. Now, let's just make sure that the mass drivers can hit them at this range. I don't even know if you can hit them, the aerospace craft. Yeah, I think they can because the modifiers are -1. Okay, so there's modifiers from distance, and the maximum distance is 6 hexes away. So they're still within distance here. So let's just try one and see how the Asagumo does. So let's look at the mass driver rating for the Asagumo. It's got 10 mass drivers, and they fire at a +1 to the die roll. That's important to note. So that's 10. And what we do is we look at the mass driver number here at the table, and then we modify it by these modifiers in the table here. Now the fighters are 1, 2, 3 hexes away, so that's a -1 to the roll. So that's gonna counter that +1 from the CIC. So it's at 0, and it's enemy fighters and scouts, so it's -1. So whatever I roll, it's gonna be -1. So here we go. I'm going to roll a d10 for that fire, and it is a 2, but it goes at -1, so it becomes a 1 total on the table. That means it destroys one of my scouts, which is really important because this means that when it comes to defending the Ticonderoga, there's one less scout ship to defend. Okay, so I think the Japanese are going to save the rest of their mass driver fire for defense, and the Americans are definitely saving all their mass driver fire for defense because the Class 5 torpedoes are nasty. So we can skip to the next phase, which is resolve aerospace attacks. Now, there's no dogfights. And the aerospace ships are just defending. So we skip to the next one, resolving aerospace docking attempts. They're not attempting to dock. Again, this is something that will be in the advanced rules for taking over enemy ships or installations. And next we resolve torpedo and missile impacts. So to do that, we identify the torpedo target hex, which is what we did earlier. We showed the approach hex. So each volley of torpedoes is approaching the enemy ship by the stern. And first we resolved mass driver and aerospace defensive fire versus missiles. So the way this works, the Well, let's do the mass driver point defense first. So let me get the dice roller out of the way here, and let's move the ships to this side so we can look at our sheets at the same time. So it's the Arashio. The Arashio has a mass driver rating of 10, which you can see right here. And they roll out +1 because of their CIC. Now, they're getting assistance from Natsugumo and Yamagumo, and both are within 0 to 5 hexes, 0 to 1 hexes away. So they just add their mass driver scores. So it's 10, 10, and 10. We're talking a mass driver rating of 30 right now. Let's see what other modifiers we could use. They got a +1 on their roll, which we're going to take into consideration. And that's about it. So they roll on this table now. So we roll a d10 and we see what we get. Let me put the dice roller back up. And here we go. Okay, that's a 2 on the die. +1 is a 3. So we're looking at 8. 8 torpedoes are knocked out by the point defense. So from 14 torpedoes that were attacking originally, point defense takes care of 8. So there's only 6 torpedoes left. Then we go to Then we go to aerospace defense, right? We have 4 scouts. Now those 4 scouts are in the same hex where these torpedoes are coming in. So the way we look to determine how those scouts do is we roll 1 d10 per ship involved. So it's going to be rolling 4 d10s. But there's a number at the table that we need to look at, and this is a stat number for the scouts. All scouts are the same. Now there's a number here on this side of the table which says intercept versus torpedo basic to hit. So what you do is you subtract that number 6 minus the class of the torpedo, and these are class 4s. So we're looking at 2s or less on the d10. So if we roll 2s or less, we knock out a torpedo. So here we go. Okay, no 2s. We have 0s, 7, 4, and 4. So those 6 torpedoes that are left will be getting through. And we could do the hits versus the shields. Let's go through the whole damage thing. So this is Arashio, and we said that 6 torpedoes are going through. Now the torpedoes have to make a to-hit roll against the shields, the ship shields. The shields are at 4. So the basic to-hit number for the class 4 torpedoes is an 8. So 8 minus 4 from the shielding. Hang on, let me verify that the stern has the same shielding. Yes, the aft shielding is 4. So it's 8 minus 4. We're looking for 4s on our roll. And it's 6 torpedoes left. So we are rolling 6d10, looking for 4s or less. It's 4, 5, 6d10. So here we go. 4s or less. Ooh, we are getting a lot of hits. So 2 of the torpedoes do not impact, but the other 4 torpedoes actually hit the stern of the Arashio. So let's do damage for those torpedoes at the Arashio. Now, they are class 4s. There is a page in the rules which instructs you as to how much damage, not how much damage, what the damage profiles for the different weapons are. And this is the fun part of the game, hitting the enemy, right? Okay, these are damage profiles, and you can see torpedoes. Let me get the dice roller out of the way. So you can see torpedo damage profiles. Now, class 4 torpedoes are over here. I don't know if you can see the cursor. Let me see if I can highlight. Oh, there we go. So these are the class 4 torpedo damage profile. It does 4 points, and it penetrates inward, and then one of the damage boxes moves toward the outboard square. All right. So the next thing we need to do is for each of those torpedoes that hits, we need to roll the hit location. Now, if you look over at the Jesus, I can't English tonight. Sorry, guys. So there's 3 possibilities down here. It's 1, 2, or 3. So what we do is we roll d6s. We roll 4 d6s, 1 for each torpedo, to determine where the torpedoes will actually be hitting. Okay, so here we go. We got a couple of 3s, we got a 6, and we got a 4. So the 6 means it hits on the... You divide by 2. So I'm just going to divide by 2. And this divides by 2, but then rounds up. So it's 1, 2 hits on the 1. 3 and 4 actually hit on the 2. So it's 3 hits to the center of the aft and 1 to the 3. So let's do the 3 one first. Now it hits, first torpedo hits here, and the splash damage goes outboard. Okay? So it goes like this. Now the second impact. Second impact goes in the 2 box, and it goes like this. So the first impact hit the one of the engines and the sensor array. The second hit destroyed the armor and went into the engine. And now I'm going to roll, odds, it goes to one side, and evens, it goes to the other. So I'm going to say evens, it goes to the right. Evens to the right. So it's even. So it goes to the right. So that 4th point would fall here at the engine, and that's already hit. So that point of damage is lost. But there's another torpedo coming in. Now, the way these torpedoes go, this damage over here is already done. So the torpedo actually penetrates and goes into the ship. And then let's roll again, evens or odds. And it's evens again. So now this damage also hits here. So now it's hitting reactor and the aft shielding, reactor and the aft hangar. It's hitting the Darkstar drive, the med bay and life support, and it's hitting the port quarter shields. So that's the second torpedo, and the third torpedo, or not the third torpedo, the 4th torpedo also hits here, and now it's goes all the way here, where it destroys the bridge, destroys the magazine, and destroy the bow weapons. And odds or evens for the last damage square, it's everything was even. So it gets the starboard hangar as well. So you can see that the Arashio is going to be pretty heavily impacted by this torpedo damage. But again, note that this damage doesn't actually come into effect until the resolution phase. So we're just going to leave that here. And now these torpedoes have impacted, so we take them away. We leave our scouts here. And now we resolve the Japanese torpedoes impacting on the Ticonderoga. Now let's look at our cheat sheet again. And here it is. So we go back to the torpedoes, and the first thing we do is we do anti-aircraft, not anti-aircraft, point defense fire with the mass drivers. So we look at the targeted ship, which is the Ticonderoga, has 15 mass drivers plus 1 on the to-hit number, and the Grissom and Aldrin each have 11, so it's 22 plus 15 is 37, if I'm not mistaken. So let's mark that here. We're going to be rolling in this column here. And we get a plus 1 to hit for our CIC. Now the assistance of the Grissom and the Boss Aldrin is not affected because they are 0 to 1 hexes away. This is why you need to keep, you don't need, but it's a good practice to keep your squad tight together so they can defend each other. So nothing is affected here. So now I need to roll a d10 and add plus 1 to it. So let's clear this up. Let's bring us up the dice cam and roll a d10 for the mass driver fire, and it is a 9 on that die. Plus 1 turns it up to 10. I don't know what happens in 10 because the table goes up to 9, so, you know, whatever. Well, it takes out 13 of those torpedoes, which is fantastic. It was 16 torpedoes incoming, so now we're down to 3 torpedoes. The excellent American point defense takes out most of the attack, but we still have our scouts. Now it's 3 scouts. And as we mentioned before, they actually look at the intercept number, which is 6 minus the class of the torpedoes. Now, unfortunately, these torpedoes are class 5. So this is a bit of a Hail Mary pass. So we're looking at 1s. So I need to roll 1s on these attack rolls to get them. And nope, all 3 torpedoes get through. Now, let's do some damage on the Ticonderoga by those torpedoes. I think this was page 35. Let's go here real quick. Let's take the tactical thing off. Yep, there we go. Let me set this up a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so... Oh, wait, those 3 torpedoes still need to hit, to roll it to hit roll, right? So the aft shielding is 4. Oh man, let's go back to our cheat sheet. I keep calling it the cheat sheet. It's a quick reference sheet. There's no cheating here in this game. So now, the base to hit number, for class 5s is a 9. But the aft shielding is 4, so they're looking at 5s or less to hit. 5s or less to get through. Let's put the dice cam back on. And there, I do get 1 5, so that means that only 2 torpedoes make it past the defending aerospace craft. So now 2 torpedoes are going to impact. Now let's look at that torpedo damage profile again. And the class 5s are here at the bottom. And you can see that they just do 3 deep and then 2 to the sides. They're exploding once they hit, they penetrate into the ship and then they explode to the sides. So, but now we have 2 torpedoes incoming and we need to determine exactly where in the aft section of the ship they hit. So there's the numbers 1 to 4. So we roll 2d4 to figure that out. And we got a 2 and a 1 on our d4s. So, hang on. Let's see. So we got a 2 and a 1. So let's do the 1 first, actually, is what we should do. So it goes like this. 3 deep. And then it goes, actually it goes two to the side, like this. But, you know, this damage out here is wasted, as you can see. And now, second torpedo comes in to the 2 location, which is right next to it. So the first torpedo hit the mass driver and the engine. Second torpedo goes back into the engine. It does not keep going, it just stops there and explodes to the side. So it does an additional box of damage here. So it also hits a second hit to the engine. Engine blocks are 4 in this size ship, but still this is pretty heavy damage for this ship. And again, we resolve the effects of that later on. So now that we've done all the torpedo and missile impacts, we go into the energy phase. So now we do the energy weapons, and let's okay, we should probably do these in order just to make sure that everybody gets a chance to fire. Now, as I mentioned before, damage hasn't set in. This is all simultaneous, so they are attacking at full strength. Let's move the tactical over here. Let's shrink it a bit. Actually, I think it's the opposite. Let's blow it up. There we go. Now we can move it all the way back here. There you go. All right, that's much better. So we start with the Arashio. Now we got to figure out which ship the Arashio is going to hit. Are we going for the closest ships? Are we going for the farthest ships? Are we going to try and hit? So the weapons, the plasma weapons, are optimal at the second range band, so up to 3 hexes away. I don't think there's any targets 3 hexes away. Nope. So the next most optimal band is the 4 to 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that actually includes the Ticonderoga. So, is it in their best interests to finish off Ticonderoga? Sure, why not? So let's have Arashio hit the Ticonderoga with 2 plasma and 1 2 megakelvin lasers. So let's do the plasma results first. It has 2 of those cannons. Let's double check, but I do believe the Ticonderoga, it's getting hit on the starboard quarter, and the shielding is 4. So let's do Arashio. You know what? They're going to hit with everything they got. They're going to hit the Ticonderoga with everything. They want to kill it. So I'm going to roll 2 red dice for the plasma, and I'm going to roll 2 blue dice for the lasers. That's how we're going to run that. So again, it's 4 to 6 hexes away, so the to-hit number is 9. But the Ticonderoga has shielding of 4, so they're looking for 5s or less, and they got a +1 on the die, so they're looking for 6 or less on their results. So that's how that goes. So let's roll, looking for 6s or less. Okay, so one of the plasma cannons misses with an 8. It doesn't hit. But the second plasma cannon hits with a 6, and the other 2 hit, the lasers hit with a 5 and a 1. So we got apply damage now. Let's look at the Ticonderoga. Now again, if you look at where the fire is coming from, it's hitting on the starboard shield, right? So it's going to the starboard bow of the ship. So let's look at the Ticonderoga. Starboard bow, and again it's got 4 possible places that it could hit. So I'm going to do I have any red dice? I don't have red d4s. So I'm going to use a blue d4s for the lasers and a green for the plasma cannon. So here we go. So the plasma hits at the section number 2 and the lasers hit at 1 and 3. So I want to do the plasma first. Let's look at our plasma profiles. Oh, and before we do that, let's look at the size of those plasma. Okay, at the 3rd bracket, they do plasma 3, laser 2. Okay, plasma 3, laser 2. So let's look at the plasma profiles. Okay, plasma projector damage 3. So plasma projector damage 3, it just, the plasma hits the surface and then dissipates toward the sides. It just burns off the armor, but it does not penetrate. But this is fantastic because that means that 3 points of damage starting, where's my ship? This is the Ticonderoga. So it actually hits on section 2 and it does 3 points of damage. So what it does is burn off armor here. And that is fantastic because that means it clears the way, it clears a little bit of armor for the laser beams to get through. Now, one of the beautiful designs of this game is that you get to apply the damage as you wish. So let's do the laser damage now. Okay, now the laser damage is just 2 because it's at that range it's only 2 points, but there's already a burnt off section thanks to the plasma. So the first one goes here and takes out a sensor, right? And then the second one goes here and takes out the starboard cargo compartment. So now as you can see, there's not much damage done into the actual ship itself. It's difficult. This ship is well armored and hitting from anywhere except the stern, it's difficult to make too much damage penetrate. So let's see. Now that was Arashio. So who fires first? Asagumo. All right. So who is Asagumo going to fire on? Do they feel like keeping pounding on the Ticonderoga? Now, same question again. If anything is within 3 hexes, that's where the plasma is most effective. So 1, 2, 3, it could be either the Ticonderoga or 1, 2, 3, the Gus Grissom. If they hit the Grissom, let's look at the tactical. If they hit the Grissom, from the center of the hex to the center of the Grissom, it's coming in through the bow. Do you see how the line goes in through the forward shields? And again, hitting a ship and making a lot of damage from the front is difficult. So we got to consider hitting the Ticonderoga because it's already being hit. So maybe the smart move here is to just have the Yamagumo and Asagumo just pound on the Ticonderoga. Let's try that. So it's 3 hexes away. So that's the second range band. So that's a 10 to hit. Plus 1 on due to the CIC, it's 11. Minus 4 for the shielding. Then it would be 7s. 7s or less to hit. So let's start with, what do we say, Asagumo. So Asagumo is going to do, looking for 7s. It's going to roll. Reds is the plasma, blues is the laser. Let's put the dice cam back on. Oh, wow. So, okay, so one of the lasers does not hit, but two of the plasmas and one of the lasers hit. Now, the plasmas are coming in at the second range band, so they're doing plasma 5 and laser 2. So, let's look at our damage profiles again. Now, plasma 5 is over here. Now, plasma 5, impacts a region. And then again, it goes superficial and then it starts going deep. Let's see how you determine that last. That one extra box is put on the outboard flanking column. Alright, so that's our instructions for applying the damage. So let's see where it actually hits. Alright. So let's apply the plasma damage first. It goes to the 2 and to the 4. So if it goes to the 2, then it goes outboard. Okay, so this one is not too complicated because it goes like this. It's going to be a little bit complicated applying this damage. Okay, so it hits on the 2, and the first hit goes here. Now the second that hit the 2, the other one hits here, the other one hits here. Okay, that's the first row of damage, but there's a second row coming on top of that, and it's coming here, and the other one goes outboard here. So that's the first plasma attack. This is what they call liquid damage, so it pours in. It keeps going inside the structure. So that's the 2 hit for the plasma, and the other hit is the number 4. So the number 4 hasn't been hit before, and the plasma damage can spread across to the starboard quarter side. So it's going to be 3 boxes starting on the 4. So these 2 are hit, but one of the little pieces goes here and hits the starboard weapons. This one hit here, and this one hit here. Now the second row goes outboard, so it would go 1 box here and the other box outboard, so it actually hits the magazine. All right, so that was the plasma damage, because you got to imagine just like a blowtorch burning this armor away, right? Sweeping side to side and just burning the armor off. And now we get the laser hitting at number 2. Now the laser is at power 2, so it's just going to do 2 squares of damage, and it penetrates through this area, which is already weakened, and takes out the starboard weapons systems. So this is basically crippling the Ticonderoga. It is not good at all for the American side. Okay, so that was Asagumo. Now we go to Yamagumo. Yamagumo is the same deal. Now, if I keep pounding on it, I probably can take care of, get rid of the Ticonderoga in this attack. So I am going to hit it with the same weaponry. Again, it is 11 to hit, minus 4 for armor is 7. So I'm looking for 7 or less. Reds is plasma. Okay, so 1 plasma misses, and 1 plasma hits with 2 lasers. Okay. So one plasma hits with 2 lasers. Plasma hits the 2. Wow. Now again, the plasma, because of the range, is of 5 plasma damage. So it hits 3 boxes starting on the 2. So starting on the 2, it goes all the way in here, all the way in there, and the magazine is completely taken out, and I'm still missing 2 points of damage, which, now let's just copy this one and apply them here. So the bow weapon systems are completely gone. Okay, and that's interesting. We'll look at that at the resolution phase. But that was just the plasma hit. Let's look at the laser hits. Now the lasers are going at a strength of 2, if I'm not mistaken, because it's the second bracket. Yep, strength of 2. And one hits at the 4 and one hits at the 3. I'm just resizing this, and then copy this and paste it. Okay, so these come in at the 4 and the 3. Okay, and the way this works, this armor is already destroyed, so this goes in here, takes care of the starboard mass driver and the shields, and this one penetrates all the way across and hits the port bow weapon system. All right. Wow. It is taking a pounding. So, let's see. That was Yamagumo. And now we go to Natsugumo, which is the last of the Japanese ships. Now, I got to make a decision. Do I hit Ticonderoga one more time? Or do I figure it's crippled enough and hope that the magazine and the engine blocks are critical systems? The more of those you hit, the more likely you are to disable the ship. Now, if I hit it with the Natsugumo, let's see where that hit would land. Okay, it still goes in the center of the hex. It still goes in through the starboard quarter. The thing is, if I hit the starboard quarter, am I hitting vital portions? I'd have to gamble that it hits the number 4 and it penetrates, but you know what? I think I'm going to risk it. This is a very good attack profile, and I don't think I'm going to get this opportunity again. So, let's go for broke. See if we can hit the Ticonderoga bridge and knock it out of the battle. So let's look at the ranges. Is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's 4 hexes. So now it goes into box number 3, right? Oh, maybe I should reconsider that, because I could hit the Gus Grissom. You know what? I'm gonna change my mind. I'm gonna hit the Gus Grissom, because the Grissom is 3 hexes away from the Natsugumo, so that means that I'm in the second range bracket, so it's 5 damage with the plasma and 2 damage with the laser. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. I like it. So let's look at what it takes to hit the Grissom. It's the second range bracket, so we're looking at 10s to hit, and the Grissom has a bow shielding of 4. Alright, so not too bad. So it's 10s plus 1, it's 11, because of the CIC, minus 4 is 7. So I'm looking 7s or less. Again, reds is plasma, blues is lasers, and 7s or less. 1 of the plasma misses, 1 of the lasers miss, so it's just 1 plasma and 1 laser. So now we have hit locations based on 3 possible numbers, right? For the, oops, let me put up the Grissom. Yep. 3 possible numbers for that plasma and that laser. So again, red is going to be plasma, blue is laser. So these are hit locations. So 1 and 2 would be 1, 3 is actually box number 2, and 2 is actually box number 1. So plasma hits on box number 2, which is excellent. It's the best place it could hit. Let's look at the damage profile. I believe we said it was 5 and 2. That is correct. Let's look at the damage profile. Let's get rid of the dice. There we go. So again, it's can you see it with this? No, you really can't. Maybe I could move this up a little bit. Oops, no. I could magnify this, is what I could do. There you go. Now you can see it. It's a damage of 5. And it's hitting the bow of the Grissom. This is the correct ship. Alright, so now it does 3 damage across. And it's hitting centered on the 2. So it goes like this. Now it does a second row of damage, and I'm going to roll to see which side it goes to. Evens, it goes to the right, and no, it goes to the left. So the second row of damage is just 2 boxes, but they go here, which is excellent for the laser because the laser does 2 boxes of damage as well. But those 2 boxes of damage go deep and they hit here. So it takes out the forward hangar and cargo area and the port hangar. So, you know, those scout ships are going to have difficulty landing later on. But for the moment, Grissom is out of danger. And that is it for the Japanese attack. Let's look at the American side of the equation now. So let's go to tactical here and start thinking about our ships. So I think the Grissom is just going to return the favor because the Grissom has the worst firing arc in this situation. It can just use its bow weapons because of the firing arc. It cannot hit with a broadside. So it is going to hit just with a forward weapon. You know what? I'm going to leave the Grissom to last. And I think I'm going to get the party started with the Ticonderoga. I think we already hit the Arashio pretty hard. So, I don't know. Closest is Nasagumo. So let's hit Nasagumo just because. So we're going to hit it with a broadside. Now, from the Ticonderoga, the broadside means it can hit with all the weapons. So it goes the railguns, it goes the lasers, and everything can come to bear. And it better hit this round because a lot of these weapons will be disabled when we go around to the resolution phase. So let's start with, you know what, let's just resolve the railguns and then the lasers, because if the railguns hit and damage it hard enough, maybe I can move the lasers to another ship. You can declare by weapon systems alone. So I'm going to start with the weapon systems. Let's just do the railguns. So now the Asagumo is 3 hexes away, so it's range bracket 2. At range bracket 2, the railguns do 2 points of damage, and it's got 6 banks of railguns. So let me get some dice for my railguns. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the actual to hit number is 10. The damage is coming in through the starboard bow. It's 10 plus 1 from CIC, it's 11. Minus whatever shielding the Asagumo has. It's a 4. So, what did I say? 10 plus 1, 11 minus 4, 7s or less. So, here we go. Let's put the dice cam back on. So, here come my railguns. And it's 7s or less. So, I have 1 miss with my railguns. We got 5 hits. 5 hits with the railguns. Let's go to the Asagumo. And let's take a look. So now, again, it's 3 possibilities, and it's 5 hits. So let's see where the railguns hit. 3... Okay, 5 D6s here. So this is going to be the hit locations for our railguns. 3, 3, 2, 2, and 5. Okay, so you divide these by 2. So this is actually compartment number 1. 3 is 1, 2 is 1, and 3 and 4, this is compartment number 2. And 5 is compartment number 3. So let's do compartment number 3. Let's look at the railgun explosion patterns, the damage patterns, and let's take dice roller off. So this was plasma, EPC, torpedoes. Nope, I think railguns was the first one. Railguns, there we go. So at this range, our railguns are doing what? 2 damage? Those railguns aren't so bad. Okay, so everything is 2 damage basically, and it's Asagumo. So 2 damage is not too bad. It just goes 2 deep in a straight line. These railguns aren't too impressive, I guess, on this ship. But we got a couple of stacking hits, so that's always good news. So let's see. They go 2 deep, and we're going to start on compartment number 3 because that's probably the fastest. Plus we can copy this and do the rest of our damage like this. Alright, so the number 3 hits there. And now here we go. We got 4 of our damages coming in. Alright, so compartment number 2 is hit once and then is hit again. And that second hit penetrates and hits the forward shield and the bow weapons. Same thing happens in compartment 1. So all the armor is gone from compartment 1. And we hit the hangar and the, the hangars and the cargo bay. But the ship is not too bad off. So I think I am going to hit it again with my lasers. And it's just 2 lasers on this broadside. So again, we are looking for 7s or less on the dice. And hey, 2 7s. I'll take those. And let's roll the compartment. And again, we divide by 2. So this is compartment number 2 and this is compartment number 3. So let's go back to Asagumo. And we are hitting 2 more hits, and these do damage 2 as well, and we're hitting compartments 2 and 3. So this goes here, takes out the forward mass driver and the starboard hangar, and we get a lucky shot into the magazine and the bridge. We kill the personnel in the bridge, and this is a disabling shot. This takes Asagumo out of the fight, but we'll see that in the resolution phase. For now, Ticonderoga is done shooting, and we have Grissom and Aldrin. So I think I'm going to go with Aldrin first. 1, 2, 3, 4. So at a range of 4, well, 4 to 6, it doesn't really make much of a difference. And you know what? We're going to concentrate firepower on Yamagumo now. Again, Aldrin will hit at the starboard bow of Yamagumo. But now we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, a range of 4. So it's the 3rd bracket. So these are teravolt particle cannons. They all do damage of 2. Their to hit is 9. Plus 1 from CIC is 10. Minus 4 for the shielding is 6. So we're looking for 6s or less. So we roll our 2 hits for our teravolt EPCs. Now it doesn't really matter Well, 6 or less. Here we go. Ooh. So this one misses, but the other 3 hit with 6, a 4, and a 6. So we got 3 hits. And let's look at Yamagumo and see what that looks like. So Yamagumo is getting hit again in the starboard bow. And we got to do our hit localizations, right? Ooh, so there's 2 of these hitting it at compartment number 3. And 1 is hitting at compartment number 1. So let's look at the damage profiles. We said it was how much damage? It was third stat block is just 2 for the EPC. Oh, that's too bad. Let's check again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's just 2 damage for the EPC. So I don't think that's going to be very different. That's too bad because the EPCs have some very interesting damaging profiles. But let's look at what we got. Yeah, so just the EPC, it's just penetrating 2 basically. So let's see what that looks like here. And just 3 hits. So we got 1 in compartment 1. Oops. These actually should be horizontal. Let me just get rid of this. Get rid of this. Put this one sideways. We're hitting compartment 1. And the other 2 are hitting compartment 3. That's pretty good. So we hit here. And then we hit here. So we hit the shields and the crew quarters, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good hit. We got a gray box. The gray box are called the core systems, and that's important as well. So the only ship that has not fired is the Gus Grissom. Now the Grissom can only bring its bow armament to bear. And that means it's only 1 of the Terrorbolt APCs. No, 2 of the Terrorbolt EPCs. So I think we're going to hit the same guy. Yamagumo. Let's see. Okay. So let me make sure I start from the very center of the hex and hit the very center of this hex. And it looks like me that it's coming in the same starboard bow, which is excellent for me, bad for the Japanese. So we're rolling 1, 2, 3. So the range is 3. So it's the second bracket. So now it's 11 minus 4 is 7. We're looking for 7s or less. And we roll 2 4s. So that's 2 hits. Let's go to Yamagumo. And again, we roll our 2 hits to see where they go. So they both hit compartment 1. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, but now damage is EPC damage 3. Let's see if that changes the profile. Is it Asagumo or Yamagumo? I think I applied the damage wrong. Oh well, too late now. Let's go for Yamagumo. Yeah, I did. I hit the wrong side with the Yamagumo. Not with the Asagumo, I mean. I hit the wrong place. Okay, well, too late now. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about that. So let's just go with Yamagumo getting 2 hits on the first hit location, but now it's a 3 EPC. So again, it's not very interesting. It just goes deep. But it's also liquid damage, so it goes through whatever it is. So it's 3 deep. So now the boxes are 3 deep. It goes like this. And copy. And it goes right through the front of the ship and starts hitting the armor of the other side. Now, that's pretty interesting. All right, so that finishes the weapons damage phase, and now we go to the resolution phase. So now we have to go ship by ship and look at our cheat sheet, not the cheat sheet, the quick reference sheet, which is right here. All right, so now we start looking at chances to disable and stuff like that. So let's again start with the Japanese side. Let's go to our ratio. Now the first thing we do is we check for ship explosions. Now, to check for ship explosions, we need to count the number of boxes hit. And this is a frigate. So this is the table, the portion of the table that we'll be using. Now, to disable the ship, you need to roll a d6. And the way you do this is you count the critical boxes. The critical boxes are the red boxes that were hit on the Arashio. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red boxes were destroyed, right? Magazine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. So that target number to disable would be 6 minus 5 would be 1, or on a 1 or a plus, the target is disabled. But it doesn't go below 0. If this number went below 0, if we had hit, say, 7 of the red boxes, there's a chance for the ship to explode. Now, it doesn't really go there. So there's no explosion to this ship. Next thing we do is check if the bridge is filled in, and if it is, it's already disabled. So Arashio is out of combat. And the way the checklist is made, let me show you the turn sequence here. Now, if you look at the turn sequence, you're supposed to check for these endgame conditions in order. Ship explosions, because if the ship explodes, it will affect nearby craft, right? So that's really important to check. But if it's not, then you just look for disabled. And if the ship is disabled with the CIC filled in, right, the bridge, then that means that the ship is out of combat and we stop. We don't need to go through the rest of the checklist because this ship is out. So let's mark Arashio as out of the fight. And what I do to mark these is I go and roll 20 and I turn on one of these auras and I hit, I don't know, 60 kilometers. Let's give it a nice... I don't know, orange aura, and there you go. Now you know that the Arashio is out of combat. Okay, so let's look at Asagumo. Now Asagumo does have a critical hit and a bridge hit. Now if we go through the checklist, you know, potential explosions, no, it's only 1 red box hit. But the CIC is filled in, so Asagumo is out of the fight. Asagumo is here. And we do the same thing. There we go. Asagumo is out of combat. So now let's go to Yamagumo. Now Yamagumo doesn't have any red boxes. So if we go to our checklist, see, check for potential explosions? No. Apply damage? No. Ship's disabled. Check to see if CIC is filled in? No. Ship's crippled number. Now, you count the number of red boxes and you roll. But in this case, there's no red boxes hit. So now you check for ships breaking off. Now, you remember those gray squares that I told you about? You can see here we hit the crew quarters. So that's where the actual crew of the ship is. There's some crew members in there. Now, if we mark off at least 1 box, then we count the number of boxes and multiply it by a ship class factor, and we roll percentile dice. And if we roll less than the dice, the crew morale breaks and they force the ship captain to, you know, they hold him at gunpoint and relieve him of duty, and they pull out of the fight. So let's check what the percentage is for a frigate. Oops. For a frigate, the core damage factor is 30% per box filled in. So there's only one gray box, so I need to roll 30% or less on a percentile dice. Let me see if I have my percentile dice here. Hang on 1 second. Oh, you know what? I can't find it, so I will use a red and a blue. Now, the red will be the tens number. So that is a 27, which means that the Yamagumo bugs out. It's heading out. It will start heading out in the next movement phase. So I'm going to mark Yamagumo. Let's put some sort of marker in here. You know what? Let's do a yellow aura. And maybe put one of these markers. Let's see, something that looks like fear. Here we go. There we go. So that's the funny thing with Roll20. It has markers for all these conditions. All right, so that's the damage for those guys. And then we go to Natsugumo, which I think did not get hit at all. No, Natsugumo is A-OK. So let's check Ticonderoga. Let's do the same checklist. Check the ship for potential explosions. Now, the Tyke is a destroyer, so it uses this score, right? So it's a 7 plus to disable. And we count the red boxes. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 red boxes. So this would bring it down to 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay? So it doesn't explode, but it could still be disabled, right? If the enemy rolls a 3 or more on, I believe it's a D10. No, it's a D6. Sorry. Let's do that math again. So it's 4 red boxes. So it brings it down to 3. So if I roll 3 or more on a D6, this ship will be disabled. Here we go. 2. So it's not disabled. I managed to avoid getting disabled. So let's keep looking at the checklist. If it's not disabled, check if it's crippled. Oh, that's what we just did. And then we look for ships breaking off. So we count the number of... oops, hang on. Okay, so the magazine is a gray box as well. Okay, so that means that we got 2 gray boxes filled in, 2 of the core boxes. So we count those and we look at the ship factor. Oops. So again, for a destroyer, it's 20%, but it's 2 of those. So there's a 40% chance that the ship breaks off combat. Again, reds are the tense number. Okay, 98. It's not breaking off combat. So, yep, that's it. Let's look now at the Grissom. Oops, let me return this. No, this is where it was. Wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. Or was it like this? I think it was like this. Yeah, there we go. So, Grissom. Grissom has actually no red or gray boxes marked in, so it's okay. And Aldrin is unscathed. Okay, now let's look at our ships. We got 3 ships routed. Natsugumo is unharmed, I do believe. But Ticonderoga and Grissom are hurt. Let's start with Grissom, because Grissom is the least hurt of the ships. It's got a forward hangar, a cargo, and a port hangar hit. I believe that does nothing to its damage components, but let's double check on that. Here we go. Hangar and cargo. If it's all filled in, you lose all cargo and craft and location. Let's see. It's the forward hangar. Or is it the starboard hangar? Huh. No, that's the only forward hangar. So the cutter in the hangar is destroyed, and unfortunately 10 of the Marines, of the US Marines, were stationed at the port hangar, and those were killed in the assault, in this damage. And that's about it. And any cargo in that compartment is lost as well. So now look at Ticonderoga, because Ticonderoga took a lot of damage. So let's see what this means for the Tyke in terms of damage. Now, so engines. Each complete engine lost is -1 to thrust, counts as critical hit. So I got 4 boxes of engines. So I don't know if this counts as a complete engine hit. So that's something I need to look up for the rules, and I will be doing that for next session, because, you know, does it have 4 engines or does it have 2 engines? Because the red outline seems to indicate that an entire engine is the one in front and the one behind. Not, you know, it's 2 different engines being hit here. I will check, because this could modify our thrust and bring it down from 6 to 4 potentially. So no reactors were lost. Magazine. So the magazine do not fill in all boxes. I'm going to need to verify that as well. Weapons. Each complete weapon area filled eliminates a weapon mount in that location. If all weapons hit in mount location, then all weapons in that mount location are lost. So I think, and let's see what else. Bridge is okay. Maneuvering thrusters, we got 1 hit. So each full component hit is +1 thrust cost per turn. Sensors hit is -1 to the CIC, which is bad. Mass drivers would decrease defense, and yeah, that's about it. Okay, so, you know, I think I can take care of that off camera, and I want to thank anybody who's still, for some strange reason, still watching me. I just enjoyed playing this game, so it's a lot of fun. So thank you for joining me. Again, this is Darkstar by James Johnson Oriskany on Beasts of War, and please visit Beasts of War and download it. It's a great game, and thanks for playing. Okay, bye.